welcome to the Narrow Road podcast,
where curiosity meets conviction. Today we unpack the story of Noah and Nimrod.
All right. So, Martha, who is Nimrod? I only know Nimrod from the Bible.
Yeah.
We can read a few passages, but
Absolutely.
yeah, who is Nimrod?
Yeah, so when we look at the Bible, it doesn't cover much about Nimrod. So we don't get to really know his character. Why is he mentioned in the Bible? But of course, anything that is mentioned in the Bible, there is some significance to it.
Yes.
So to really understand the story of Nimrod, I consulted the book called the Book of Jasher. It is not in the Bible, as in like one of the books in the Bible, but there is something really phenomenal that gives it credibility, according to what I think. And this is in the book of Joshua chapter 10, verse 13. Do you have it there? I just wanted us as we open.
Sorry.
Joshua chapter 10, I think verse 13.
10 verse 13. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped till the people had revenge upon their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and did not hasten to go down for about a whole day. Okay.
Exactly.
So they mentioned the book of Jasher.
They mentioned the book of Jasher, although it's not in the Bible, but it is mentioned. It is also mentioned in the book of Numbers, but we're not going to go there. But I just wanted to first lay this ground that getting this story from a credible, I believe there is some credibility to this book because it is also recorded in the Bible. Although other scholars would argue that when these were discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they were altered. Some argue that. But if it is recorded in the Bible, then it gives us an opportunity to explore the story of the story of Nimrod. So if we can go back to the Bible and where it speaks about Nimrod, it is in the book of Genesis chapter 8, verse 10. It says, Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be mighty one in the earth. He was the mighty hunter before the Lord. Perhaps we can start as to what does the name Nimrod mean. The name Nimrod means the rebellious one.
Yes.
But when you look at it, was it because Nimrod would become the rebellious one? No, it's not because of that. The book of Jasher says he was named Nimrod by his father Cush, because during the time when he was born, there was a lot of rebellion that was happening, which is the rebellion against the Lord. So he named him according to
what was happening at the time.
Exactly. So that is what happened. That is why he was given the name Nimrod. And it says here he was the mighty one before the Lord. And the Hebrew word that is used there is the word Gibor.
Similar to the fallen angels or the children of the fallen angels called the Giborim.
Yes.
Is there a link there?
There is a strong link, and which are also called the mighty ones.
Okay.
You go forward to the book of Judges, we look at the story of Gideon.
Okay.
An angel approaches Gideon and said, the mighty men of Valor. And the word that is used there is the same word, Gibor.
Gibor.
So now what we see is, indeed, this man was the mighty warrior. He establishes the first empire, which was based in Babel.
So would that be the place we now call Babylon?
Yes.
Is there a link? Is it the same place?
That is the same place that is now called Babylon. We refer to as Babylon.
Okay.
So Nimrod becomes a very strong warrior before the Lord. And again, some would argue that before the Lord could also mean that he was rebellious before the Lord. He went in opposition, or he went against the Lord.
Okay.
So some would even argue that. So and when we also look the word Gibor, it's also the same word that was used, like you were saying, to describe the Nephilims, which were the giants, the mighty ones. All right. When we look at where did this man find his might, why was he so strong? It is written in the book of Jasher again.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. You should read it. Yeah. It is also indicated again that there was a time when there was war. And when there was war, the animal skin that God made for Adam, it is said it was passed down to Noah.
Okay.
And the father of Cush, which is Ham, right?
Yes.
Ham, the father of Cush.
The father of Cush, yes.
So he took that clothing or that belonged to Adam, and he hid it, and he passed it down to Cush, and Cush passed it down to Nimrod.
Nimrod, yeah.
Nimrod wears this attire, and then he went to fight, and he came out victorious. From there, he was so much revered and exalted and hero praised by the people to a point where he ends up the fear, how he was feared, how strong he became. Then he became this mighty king.
The rebellious
one. Exactly. So, but one thing that happens here is he tries to unite people under his cause or under his name. Okay. But what did the Bible says? Be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth. In other words, spread throughout the earth. But what he does, he unites people, he brings people together into one area. When he brings them together, these people, they were talking one language.
Okay. Yes.
Right. So when they were talking one language, it means they understand each other. There is understanding. One message is not distorted, so it would be fully understood by everyone there.
Yeah.
One thing very interesting is when they decide to build a tower, right? The Tower of Babel. And there was a question that you were talking offline, that you were asking me about God and Bible.
Okay.
What is that?
Yeah, so my question was necessarily, when I look at these things, it almost looks like God hates towers. I don't know if that's correct or if there was something specific about this Tower of Babylon that was unique that he hated so much.
Yes, exactly. So one thing about this tower specifically, this tower, it's something that would call a ziggurat.
Okay.
What
is a ziggurat?
A ziggurat is a pyramid-like shaped structure which would look like Egyptian pyramids. But the difference is Egyptian pyramids were tombs, were like graves. It's a grave for the kings. But a ziggurat is a pyramid-shaped structure which called a staircase outside. That you would move this staircase to the top.
Yeah.
When you get to the top, that's where it's like a temple. That's where you start speaking to the gods. The gods, not to God, to the gods.
Yeah.
So they believed that when you build this tower, it goes high. When you get to the top, they believe that you have a close proximity or close connection with God.
So this would almost align to what we were talking about to say that when you think about the intersection between heaven and earth, and the dwelling of God, it's always referred to as the mountain of God.
Yes.
So probably a representation of the heavenlies, which also comes into the name,
yes,
is represented by being on a high place. And this is probably what Nimrod and his people were trying to do.
Yes. And also, the name ziggurat means to rise high. And what did they say there to each other? What is the verse again?
Genesis 11.
Genesis 11. Can you read it?
So it says, now the whole earth had one language and one speech, as you said. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." So all of these things are happening just after the flood. Because I remember after the flood, God told them, "Be fruitful and multiply."
Yes.
And he instructed them to spread out across the world. And
That's
you're
right.
saying that Nimrod said, "Nope, we will not do that. I will bring all of these people." And because they had the same language, they then start building this ziggurat, call it. Okay?
Yes.
And then you say the purpose. What was the purpose of the ziggurat? Was it for them to try and exalt themselves to heaven?
Yes, and number one, as according to the verse that we read, they want to make a name for ourselves. Right? That is number one. Number two to it is that they want to have the connection between the heavens and the earth. So let me just read in terms of the Sumerian perspective. They said the ziggurat would represent the bond between heaven and earth. So in other words, you go as high as you can to be able to have that connection between you and God.
I've also seen in terms of the names of the ziggurats that they normally have, very spiritual names. One of them is called the Foundation of Heaven, the Temple of the Foundation of Heaven,
Yes.
which almost seems to suggest what you are referring to. I think also, because I like to get into the meaning of words. If you look at the word for Babel, right? As you mentioned, that Babylon actually comes from Babel. The word Babel has actually two meanings. One of them is confusion, because that's where God confused their languages. But there's another one that is interesting as well. It's called Babelu, which means gate of the gods.
All right.
So
okay.
probably when you look at it from that perspective, it ties into what you're saying, that this is probably what they were trying to do, which is why it angered God so much. And perhaps then the issue that God had was not with towers in general, but with this one in specific.
Yes, exactly. With this one in specific, because it becomes like a shrine, and it's a defiance against God. And when we also look at it in another perspective, there's a tower that is going high. It's a high-rise tower, and God saw that they were speaking in the same language. They would understand each other, and this word there that is used is it's safar, meaning a language, and that can also mean lips.
Okay.
Right. So they had same lips or same language.
Yeah.
Same dialect. So it means they were talking one language. So it was easy for them to really rally behind this one vision to build something going high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe just another question of mine. Is there any historic stories? We did that, with the last story that we looked at, the story of Noah, the creation story. Are there any historical archaeological stories that you know about which are very similar to Nimrod, or people that we see in history that could be this Nimrod?
Yeah, there is something very, very similar to that. I traveled to Limpopo. There is an open museum just outside Polokwane. I just forgot the name, but there is an open museum that we visited there. In that open museum, they reenacted the life that was lived before. So they will build the heads, how these heads were shaped, where the king would live here, and the subjects would live where how their houses looked like.
Oh yes.
Next to it, there is a hill. That hill is made up of massive rocks. Those that have been in that area around Polokwane, they know about those hills with massive rocks. So what the curator told us there was that the king would ascend that hill. When he is there, he will burn incense. It can be to bring the rain or to send confusion to the enemies. So you can draw something here about the tower and this hill, that the king would go up there and burn incense to bring rain.
Yeah. I think my other question then becomes, is there any relationship? Because the, people of old that we know around the area, we've got people like Sargon of Akkad, you've got Gilgamesh, for example. I think we spoke about Gilgamesh the last time. I've heard some people that think it's possible that perhaps Nimrod could have been maybe someone like Gilgamesh and all of that,
It's very interesting, because when we looked at the story, the Epic of Gilgamesh, it is said that Gilgamesh had a very close friend who died. And then he was afraid to die. He heard of a man who survived mighty floods. And what is the name of that guy? Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim.
More correct.
I think, but you are very good with these names. Utnapishtim.
Yeah.
So he visited, that person to understand how did he survive the rain. So he was afraid to die. Not the rain, the floods. He was afraid to die. He visited this guy, which is sort of you can draw the parallels here or connect the dots. That it sounds like Noah. So there is a story about that. But okay.
I also know like other legends around, Nimrod. Some people say he had, some theologians or historians say he had a wife called Shemiramat.
Yes.
And they had a son called Tammuz.
Yes, I've heard about that. Yeah.
It is believed that is the origins of paganism, right? A lot of religions out there that have got a father god, mother god, son god.
That's right.
Pantheon. And I've come across schools of thought to say that Nimrod actually then became Baal.
That's right.
Through Shemiramat, who in the Bible in Jeremiah and Ezekiel is called the Queen of Heaven, and you also have Tammuz. The Israelites, once you get to the Babylonian exile during the time of Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar, are actually lamented by both Ezekiel and Jeremiah for baking cakes for the Queen of Heaven.
Yes,
and weeping for Tammuz, right? And that's something I've always found quite interesting, that it sort of ties into that theory, and it's a lamentation that is contained in the Bible,
and which is in line. What you're saying, it's in line with the book of Jasher, which is in Hebrew is called Sefer HaYashar, meaning the book of the upright. It confirms the story that you're talking about. And remember, you told me about the book of Revelations, how they refer to Babel.
Yes, as the mother of all harlots.
Exactly. And we know that according to the Bible, harlotry is when one person worships a foreign god. And here we see this is where polytheism starts growing, right? Before that, we had this one God throughout whom Noah knew about this God. I believe he passed the knowledge to his children, Ham, Shem, and the other one, Japheth. And then, but now we have this thing. You got Nimrod who dies.
And Shemiramat goes and tells a lie to say that Nimrod was then reborn through Tammuz.
Yes,
and she was impregnated by the sun rays of that she was impregnated through the sun rays of Nimrod, who is this Baal. So I think
I think so. This just draws that line from that book, that verse in the book of Revelations, to say this is the mother of all harlotry, the mother of idolatry. These gods are originating from there.
And I think when you look at paganism in the olden days, you actually find similar stories across all these different cultures. So the Greeks have got, your Zeus, your Hercules, and, a couple of other, people. You go to Egypt and you actually find similar stories regardless of the culture, which for me sort of suggests that the story, what probably happened in Babylon, is that's where paganism started. The languages got confused. The story spread out. This paganism story spread out of a mother, son, and father, God, and all of that.
That's right.
And so when it got spread out, the names were different.
Because they spoke different languages. Yes, that's right.
You would find stories that when a Greek would go to Egypt, they would be able to look at Zeus and then look at Amun and say that this is the same deity, the same god. And that's why you find Alexander the Great claiming that his father was Zeus Amun, a combination of a Greek god and an Egyptian god.
Exactly. And the same god, when you go to the Romans, they refer to the mother god as Venus. But we're still talking about the same people that came from Bible, the same God that came from Bible. So this spread different languages, these gods start being called different names. Yeah,
But it's the same spirit.
it is the same spirit.
Yeah. Mafa, I think maybe an interesting other conversation, right? There's a book by a late theologian called Dr. Michael Heiser, right? And he refers to Deuteronomy 32.
Okay.
If I can just go to Deuteronomy 32. And his thesis is that this verse in Deuteronomy 32 is actually, where is this? Okay, Deuteronomy 32, verse 7
All right.
to 9, that this is actually speaking about the Tower of Babel story. I'll just read it quickly.
Okay.
Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High divided their inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob is the place of his inheritance. Now, what he says is that most of the translations of the Bible that we have got were actually translated from the Masoretic text, the Hebrew Masoretic text. But if you look at the ESV, it has been translated from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are much older. And so when you look at this last part, which says, he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. It's actually according to the number of the sons of God.
Oh,
And
okay.
then it goes into an entire, referencing Job 1:6, giving a perspective of who the Old Testament sons of God are, which is the sons of God that we also mentioned in a previous episode when we were speaking about Genesis 3,
Yes.
where the sons of God came into the daughters of man.
Yes,
and
that's right.
bore children to them. Yeah, so I think it becomes very deep from that perspective, that you've got this, these different cultures going into Daniel 10. Again, Daniel saying he was praying for an answer. And then Gabriel comes and says, your message was that I was withheld from bringing your message for 21 days.
Yes.
And he says it's by the prince of Persia. Now, a prince, you would think it's a humanly prince. But then you consider the fact that, Gabriel is saying, I was withheld, and Gabriel is an angelic being. So what if this prince of Persia was actually a heavenly host? And so when you look at also who probably the sons of God are, they're also heavenly hosts.
Yes.
And that's why Jesus, we would see later on, had to come and purchase believers so that they could be the inheritance of God. I don't know.
Yo, man. Like, I'm already having another thought here when you're talking about the sons of God and the watchers. And we know the one that led this crew his name was Azazel. And we also know that Azazel, when the Israelites were doing offering the sacrifices to God, they'll have two goats. One, they will cast the lot. Both of them are identical. Cast the lot. The one will be chosen as one for the Lord and one for Azazel. And who is Azazel? Azazel, the watcher, the fallen angel. And this goat will be led out of the cave to Azazel, where into the dry, into the what is it? The
place of exile.
The place of exile.
The place of the dead.
The place of the dead. That's where he would lead. And Azazel, the sins of Israel were removed and put into Azazel. Who is Azazel? The fallen angel. The fallen angel also represents the devil.
Look, my mind.
And that brings us to the end. That brings us to the end. Can you just do the close up for us and round up?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we've discussed, Nimrod, who Nimrod is.
Yes.
Perhaps in our next conversation, maybe even later, we might, refer back to the story of Nimrod, Babylon, and all of that, because the stories are all interconnected.
That's right.
But I know of another character that lived around the time of Nimrod or shortly after, by the name of Abraham, who is
Yes.
the father of three faiths.
Yes.
You know,
Joe.
Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. He's
Joe.
the father of all three.
Okay.
I think this is someone very important.
Very important. We'll talk about it in the next one.
Mafa, thank you a lot. I enjoyed this conversation, and let's do it again. To the audience, if you've got any questions, any details you'd like to add, please just drop them in the comment section, and we will be sure to comment and maybe even address some of your comments in our next episodes.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to subscribe. We thank you.
Thank you very much.